Day 3.
Day 3.
12. So day 3, we woke up and so Steph had a cool idea before the rally to prank. It's kind of a prank, but also kind of like a, what do we call it?
It was kind of, I don't know. Was it a prank? It wasn't really a prank.
We'll call it a prank.
All right, we'll call it a prank.
We did a prank with Alex where all of us, our entire crew, so there's like 7 or 8 of us, all dressed up as Alex in the morning, but Alex had no idea. So if anybody knows Alex, his handle's here, go follow him, he's awesome. He is Alex. There's no one else like Alex. Alex is Alex. And so we ended up getting outfits. Again, if you know Alex, you know the outfits he typically wears. Only Alex can wear these outfits, as demonstrated by us trying to wear these outfits. But we surprised Alex actually in the car park where the event was held. We were getting our cars out before day 3.
Yeah, so that'd be like when Saturn does his daily like rundown or whatever of what the day is gonna look like.
Yeah. So day 3 for me is probably the most foggy. I don't really remember much of this day. It just kind of blended into a lot of the other days. All I do know is we had such a high priority to get out and get in the lead group, and we screwed it up again by the way that we parked. And then Alex turns left going out of the car park instead of right. So we watched the entire rally, all 62 cars or whatever, 58 cars minus or plus us. All of them go by us, and we're sitting there on the side of the road waiting for Alex to turn around.
Let me talk to you.
I remember that.
So then, that day, I think we ended up, so again, we went through some of the most incredible roads, and anybody that's like considering doing a Saturn's drive, or a Spade rally, it's unbelievable the roads that you end up on.
The amount of planning that he puts into it, he pre-drives all of the rallies, so just the amount of planning he does and the roads that he finds and the routes that he finds are just, they're spectacular, honestly.
Yeah, they're so good.
So this Blue Ridge, is that what it was called where we ended up? That beautiful overlook?
I think so.
Yeah, so we ended up at this spectacularly gorgeous overlook, and it felt like you were in the clouds because we were so high up, the elevation. And so the 5 of us pulled over. We were all still wearing our Alex outfits, and so we took a whole bunch of really cool drone footage and some photos and stuff.
Yeah.
All wearing red sunglasses, like your very typical Alex sunglasses, and our sweatsuits, and that was a great day. We had a lot of fun. But then leaving there, he ended up getting pulled over.
Where's your wife?
Yeah, so what happened was, so we get into this place, it's absolutely stunning, we're above the clouds, you're literally looking down into the clouds. And we're looking on Joiner as we're about to like leave. So Joiner is an app that we use to see where all the other cars are in the rally. So it helps you kind of locate people or put through alerts or add some messages of alerting people.
So everyone kind of stays together. They're just dots on a giant map. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's really great. So if you lose somebody, you can find them easily. So it also shows you speeds too. So we notice as we're about to get in, we pull up Joiner and see where everyone's at, because at that point we had somehow got way ahead of the crew. Like we either skipped a checkpoint or something and just kept going, because I think we were all fueled up at least that day and we were good to go. But we noticed this crew on our Joiner app is like coming in like friggin' hot. Like they're like moving. We're like, okay, these guys are like almost on us right now. And it's Serge,
of course,
Arian, and Rich. And they're literally, so we're like getting it all dressed as Alex, getting into our cars, and they're just like, no, by us. So we're like sick. So we all wanted to like, so Serge would always leave with his crew a couple minutes early, even like before everything kind of starts. So he's always ahead. He's like the most prepared. He's the best on the comms. His like, he runs
totally dialed.
Totally dialed. Tight ship. So, but we all wanted to rip with Serge, and we kept getting caught in something, or like we were driving also as a group. So there's like, we all wanted to stay together as much as we wanted to jump up. So this was sick because we finally ripped with Serge. So we all get in our cars and start sending it with the whole crew. About like maybe 8 minutes into driving, it gets like heavy fog. So we're like going through these same crazy, like windy, twisty mountain roads. Crazy tree, like it was stunning.
It
like,
was beautiful. It was absolutely gorgeous.
the most beautiful. And you get these pockets where then you get above the clouds again, it would be like sunny. So you go from like dense fog where you could only see like 20 yards in front of you to then opening up and you'd see like the entire mountain, and then you go back into the fog. It was so cool. And again, Jake and I are doing this whole friggin' thing with no AC, with our windows down the entire way.
I don't know how you guys made it through with the windows down.
So the unfortunate thing with that though too is we couldn't get any dialogue along the way while we were actually driving, because the cabin noise, like I would finish the rally and I couldn't hear anything in the night. Like my ears were not, it was like listening to something at 130 dB for like 8 hours. 8 hours straight.
Yeah, no kidding.
So anyways, we get to rip with Serge. As we're ripping with Serge, we're all excited, whatever. And we come into the spot and we're in Virginia at this point. And Virginia is a absolute limit state.
Huh?
Oh, right, yeah. So yeah, they are, there's like zero tolerance for speeding. They will put you in jail if you're caught speeding.
Absolutely it is.
Well, if you want to get tricky about it, how about I defect the absolute balls out of this vehicle here?
It's not like here's a ticket, you shouldn't do that. It's like jail.
Yeah,
That's it.
straight to jail. So if you're a 21 over, so 20 or 21 over, it's stunt driving and it's straight to jail. Your car is towed and you're impounded and you're going to jail. So we come around this corner, same thing. Again, comms are so important. We come around this corner, Serge is leading and calls cops. So like just calls cops, we all hear him. Alex was at the end of the crew, he didn't hear it. So Alex is catching up and we're all slowed down. We come around this bend and we're slowed right down like one kilometer below the speed limit. And there's a park ranger or like a ranger on the side. And Alex comes around this corner into the group, just and like heavy on the brakes, just whap, whap, whap. And the cops, so we go by the cops. As soon as Alex goes by the cop flicks his lights on, pulls Alex over. And it ended up that he did get him, I think, at 20 over, but he gave him a 19 over ticket, which is like a couple $100. And they didn't impound his car and they let him keep going, which was great.
That was scary because we're all like, "Duh!" And he didn't hear because his roof was down the entire rally. So you guys had no choice but to keep your windows open because you didn't have AC. He was just like, F it, I'm keeping the roof down because I've got a Performante Spider and I'm gonna use the Spider vent. He had the roof down the entire rally. I don't know how he did that.
Literally the entire rally.
He didn't hear comms. Literally 8 out of 10 times, had no idea what was going on. He was just following, just living his best life back there.
The best was when Alex would come on the comms, you'd hear him like go to say something and you just hear I'm like, bro, we didn't hear any of that.
And then he's like, what's that, dog? And we're like, never mind, keep going.
It is so funny. So we ended up going down. The only highlight, I think, for the rest of that day, other than getting into Asheville, was we were leaving Virginia and we're getting into, it was either Tennessee or North Carolina. I think it's wherever the Snake, I think it's called the Snake. So we went down this one road.
Oh, yes.
The sickest road. And Jake and I were prepping for it beforehand because when we were going through some construction zones, they had pylons, and so Jake and I were just weaving the pylons in the outside.
Was it me that was like, I dare someone to do it? You're like, all right.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't believe he just did that.
It was so like funny. These cones, and we were clipping along pretty good.
Slaloming them.
Yeah, we were
like,
slaloming
someone
the
slalom
cones.
this,
Yeah.
and then you, without hesitation, you're like, boom, 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 boom. I was like, of course it's Lucas that does that.
And Jake jumped in behind me, so it was sick.
So
we were just
good.
like, shoo, shoo, shoo. That was cool. I think that was on day 2 or something. But yeah, so anyways, we're going down this road, and all of a sudden we like hit this spot, and it just turned into like, I would say the top road I've ever driven. I think it was actually better than Tail of the Dragon, and I wish that we drove it again.
Me too. I remember, yeah, that road was and it was so smooth.
It was so smooth.
Nice.
There was not a bump or like a pothole anywhere.
And not a lot of traffic.
There was maybe 3 cars in a 5-kilometer strip that we ran into, maybe longer, maybe 11K. But there were parts of it that were like, you could see the whole road going down a mountain.
But it was
like, shoot, 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 shoot.
Oh, it was so spectacular.
Yeah, and it wasn't like these long sweepers. It was like first and second gear for a lot of it, and maybe the mid part of third I don't think I left second most that entire
Yeah, I was
entire
in
way
second
down.
and third the entire way for sure.
So
my
you-
gearing is different than
yeah.
yours, obviously. So
So you had like 10 mile an hour, like the posted speed was like 10 mile an hour or 20 mile an hour corners. So yeah, I think in my car I was like the top end of second or maybe the midpoint of third at the highest.
yeah,
So
yeah, it was a beautiful.
absolutely
stretch.
stunning. Everybody was bottoming out though in the tight sweepers because you come out of this thing and you get into this hard, like you just hear the tires just and you just hear oh stuff.
We world champions.
The whole rally is just
It is a miracle. I still have that front lip, knock on wood.
yeah.
Anyway.
And that was actually cool because we ended up catching up to Rich on that one. So there was a Porsche. Rich is a phenomenal driver. And we ended up coming out of the Snake and we were like, actually we gained on Rich, which was really cool. So then we all pulled into the, there's a gas station there. And that's when the Viper pulled up with us.
He got pulled over that day too.
Yeah, so you get pulled over earlier in the day or later in the day?
That I don't remember. I'm so glad that you're doing this with me because you remember so many details that I don't. I would just like dialed in driving the whole day. I'm just like,
Well,
you remember all these amazing details. Thank God. But I don't, for the life of me, I can't remember if it was before or after. It was definitely that day that the Viper got pulled over. I don't think that he got a ticket either, but that was
that was the
I
first.
think we had actually passed into Asheville by then, so it wasn't like as
Yeah, we
scary
did.
then.
Yeah, we passed into Asheville by then. And that was the first day that I tried Celsius. I only remember that because we got Celsius at the gas station. And there was an amputee kid that was at the gas station that wanted to see the cars. Remember that?
Yes, I remember.
And then his dad, or some kind of birth defect. And then we showed him the cars, whatever. And then there were a couple other people that came up and then the Viper pulled up while we were there. And then we're like, let's roll all together. So then we left that little town and we drove pretty mellow through there. Like we weren't ripping that hard. There was a lot of cops. Like I remember there
ton
on
of
Waze.
cops.
Yeah, it was like cop after cop after cop. And they were all tucked in. They're like these little like bushy areas and stuff. So they were like sniper modes that day.
Clear.
So we ended up going through all that and then getting back onto one of the interstates. So we ended up catching up to Galib.
And that's when we got all those sick photos with
These photos.
yeah.
You'll see them here.
So cool.
So Galib
Just
was
all of us taking over the highway.
It was sick. So we went 4 lanes or 3 lanes, I can't remember, and we just staggered out. Yeah, so Thomas and the Viper was with us with that, and then there was the 5 Lambos. 5 Lambos, yeah.
So yeah, it was 3 lanes wide, 2 cars deep. We had this really sick photo. It was great.
That was one of the coolest moments too, because same thing, we're in these formations. When you're doing rollers, you're not going more than like maybe 70 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour ideal, like 100K. And so we're spanning the whole fucking road. And then on Joiner, again, somebody noticed like something was coming up quick.
Fast.
Coming up quick. Like on Joiner, it was showing like 260 plus K.
Guess who that was?
And then on the inside and the outside, Serge and Ronaldo are just
Obviously.
yo, yo, just by us again. And then to Galib, we're like, all right, see you, Galib. We bailed on the
Bailed
photos. And we just ripped with these guys. And the sickest thing was the roads there were these big, huge, like rolling them at like 230, 240K sweepers. Like just massive, like big rollers. And Jake and Steph are both rear wheel drive. And somebody was behind Jake, watching Jake, and Jake's like back end, they're like, dude, through those corners at like 220, 230, your back end is like light. Like, and Jake, so yeah, anyways, crazy. That was one of the funnest, like.
Yeah, both of us, because we were constantly on the comms like, you sliding? Oh yeah, you sliding? Oh yeah.
And it was like sunset that day, like the sun was coming
beautiful.
down, and it was like, it was just so sick. And then that brought us into Asheville.
Yes. And then
And
that was the hotel we were at for 2 nights, because that's Tail of the Dragon and all the
Yeah.
rest of that stuff, which was day 4 and day 5.
Yes, and so when we got into Asheville, the first time I had problems with the LP was that day. So there was some tight stuff on the way into Asheville. My E-gear light blipped on. I don't even think you guys really noticed because I was able to it had happened so many times pre-rally that I kind of knew what to expect. So I
remember
fixed
you
it.
came on the comms saying that you were having some e-gear issues and that you might be
Yeah, I was like, my E-gear is overheated. In Asheville, we were there for 2 nights.
2 nights.
So the first night we were like, the whole time, again, we're going to the gym, we're waking up, we're doing whatever we need to do. that night we were like, let's go out and actually like have fun. So we went out, we had a lot of fun. Steph got wrecked.
Had a lot of fun.
And at that point when we checked into the hotel, it was just assumed that Steph and I were gonna be together. Like it was like, yeah.
At that point we didn't even ask anymore. We're just like, all right.
I literally just went straight to the counter. I just said, it's Matt and Clark in this room. And then I started carrying Steph's stuff up to her room. So, but yeah.
That was a wild night.
That night was wild. We drank a lot and we didn't get in till late. Like it was like 2 or 3.
Late.
The problem with that, or we got in at like midnight, but we didn't go to bed till like 2.
It was,
or 3.
We were up from
So anyway, the next day was Tail of the Dragon. And this was like the day that like Jake and I were the most excited for.
I thought I was gonna have to stay at the hotel that day. I was wrecked.
Steph was wrecked.
I was like, I'm gonna throw up on myself today. It is gonna happen.
I woke up at like 5:45.
He was like, I feel great. I'm like, shut up. I was like,
so I woke up and I was like, today, in my mind, I was like, today, I am fully committed to going to prison. That's how I woke up.
That was your attitude?
100%.
Oh, I woke up as today, I'm totally committed to not throwing up on myself. And if I get through today, I'll be very happy.
So I was so pissed off from day 3 being the last group out of the hotel that I was like, I am making sure that I am the lead car today and I'm not following anyone. I am sending it today. So I woke up
at 120%.
At 120% ready to go.
And I got up at
death.
Yeah, like 4%.
So we leave the hotel, the true lead group, so like Serge and them, they left at like 5 in the morning.
It was wild.
They went ahead because they're like, we're not dealing with all this madness out here. So they left super early. They were already at Tail like 2 hours before we got there. But the rest of the crew, we left. And when we got out of Asheville, we were maybe like in the first 10 cars. And I think I just went on the comms and I was like, I'm ripping today. Like I was like, I'm going for it. And so Arda and Arda was my co-pilot. That day, 100%, I tested the absolute limits of the LP. And we were so far ahead of the group that I got pulled over. The cop had already run all of my stuff by the time the first car went by us. And this was only like 20 to 30 minutes into the drive.
All I remember from that day is we were trying so hard to catch up with you guys. And then all I see is you pulled over. I'm like, fuck, you got pulled over. And you had already been there for ages by the time we passed by, and then you caught up and passed us again.
Yeah. Then I ended up beating them all to the next spot. I'm like, what the heck? So yeah, luckily Jake and Tio waited for me, but it was, so Arda and I got pulled over. We were just ripping. I was like fully committed. I was like, turn the waves off, turn everything off. It doesn't matter. I don't care if there's something. I'm just sending it today. And so we came around this one corner and a cop was merging onto the ramp as we were coming around the corner. So I was just like hard on the brakes and like downshift, and he just turned his lights on. So he didn't get me with the radar. He was actually an amazingly nice cop, and he was like, he ended with, I'd tell you to slow down, but I know you're not going to, but just stay safe. So that was easy. I'm also pretty good at talking to cops at this point.
You get away with it all. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So, oh, and then like 10 minutes later, Saturn and 3 of the other guys got pulled over by the same cop and the sheriff, and they got fucked. They were screwed. They were
pretty upset about that.
They were so screwed. They're like, we got the same cop that you just got pulled over by. And then Saturn in the WhatsApp chat, even like a week later, was like something about like, we took that ticket for you or whatever.
He was throwing
some shade
at you for that.
That was so funny. But yeah, so anyways, we ended up, we met up with the whole group that day. We ended up at the dam. What's that dam called?
I don't remember.
So it was,
we'll have to look at it, but it's right by the tail of the dragon. It's this absolutely stunning dam.
Yeah, you'll see it. Well, yeah, you'll see all the B-roll and stuff. But yeah, so then we had this great idea while we were there. Jake and I, before the rally, had picked up all these smoke bombs. And we're like, this would be sick, because we'd seen from other rallies when they crossed this bridge, there's like a sick spot to do these rollers with these smoke bombs and the drones across like the actual top of the dam. Excuse me. So we give out a whole bunch, and we're like, hey, Galib, we're gonna be in the front. There's a photographer that's there.
Yeah, Sunny and Galib were
Sunny
the
and Galib.
photographers that were hired for the rally.
Both
super
sick.
guys.
Super
yeah.
sick. So anyways, I'm like, we got these smoke bombs. We'll go in the front with the Lambos and a couple of the McLarens, and we'll just throw the smoke bombs out. So what I didn't realize after I bought them, when you pull the tab, typically you hold it out your window like this, and the smoke comes off the top like that. Well, this one did off the top and directly into the car. Like the whole car made like the rainy day through Virginia look like a piece of cake.
So
I couldn't
bad.
see anything.
But I cannot see, I'm legally blind.
Like absolutely zero. I had to like go out the side of my window like this just to see like the side of the curb as we were going across the dam.
We still have stains on our cars from the blue.
Oh yeah, and it melted the top of Jake's roof.
Oh.
Like it actually seared his gel coat, like his clear coat, with like coals. So terrible, absolutely terrible
Yeah,
idea.
do not recommend. 0 out of 10.
And then we got into tail. I just wanted to go and rip. Like I literally wanted to see if I could destroy the LP that day. And so we got our photos, we get in and I'm like, I don't want to be stuck behind everybody. And then sure enough, we were one of the last ones out of
It
there.
happened. Okay, so we ended so many times, or started so many times right at the back. And then by the end of the day, we were always pretty much at the front. But we were,
Yeah.
It was so frustrating because our only goal was not to leave last. And by it was always something dumb and we'd get stuck.
Yeah, the problem is the middle, when you're stuck in the middle in a rally, it's the absolute worst place to be. Worse than the back, I would say. At least the back, you can get up, and if you want to get back to the front, you can. But when you're in the middle group, it's like, it's a swarm of people, and you've got all the mix. You've got like the drivers that are there to just kind of cruise and enjoy the scenery. You got the drivers that are there that are like, think they're like Max Verstappen, but they're not. So they're still in the middle. And then you just got like a mess of comms. Everyone's on the comms in that group, so it's tied up all the
Full-out
channels.
Conversations.
Yeah, having conversations.
Just chatty.
So it's not a good spot to be. So on tail, I really wanted to send it. So luckily we were basically last out. We ended up just pulling over to the side, let a bunch of the rest of them go, and then we just waited for a nice big gap, and then we sent it.
Ripped it. We have some really cool pictures from that too.
The videos that we have from there, like in the car, one of the coolest things with having the windows down the entire rally was that I got to like, it's like the sensory overload. So obviously you have the exhaust and stuff when you're in the cabin or in the car, you can hear that. But when you're doing these like tight twisties, on a hot day, like it was a pretty hot day, and you can hear the shearing or like the carving of the rubber harder than the exhaust, is louder than the exhaust. That is like insane.
It was literally pushing the limits of the tires because they wanted to give out, but they were holding on for dear life.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
I wish I had a G meter in the LP for that, because honestly, I truly believe that I was pulling some of the highest G's out of
You
that
were
entire day.
ripping.
Yeah.
You were at the front that day, like
Yeah.
in terms of the 5 of us.
Yeah,
You were in
yeah.
the front and you were killing it.
Yeah, even Jay on that day, he was rear wheel, so he had a bit of a disadvantage, but it was Jake and I in the lead on that one. And Jake was like, there were moments where you were so far, like 2 to 3 corners ahead before he was catching up. And Jake, again, Jake's sick, Steph's fucking sick as drivers. But there's just something about that LP that you put me in that car and I just feel, I love ripping that thing.
For sure. You know that car, I think.
Yeah.
It's just, you know that car better than anybody, for sure.
Yeah.
Like just the way that you're able to drive that.
Yeah.
And for sure, like Jake and I, we have the disadvantage where we're rear wheel drive. So that's, you know, whatever. But
I think too, like.
But man, do you ever know that car?
Yeah, it's cool because I think even though it is single clutch, and like it was cool to see that no matter what, like Jake had a first gen, Steph had like kind of one of the latest, like, and Alex had like.
He's got the most performance of the group because his is a Performante, so his is like the fastest, whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was
It was cool to see how they all held up though. Like Jake's first gen, Jake, again, comes down to driver, but Jake drove it for first gen at the same caliber, if not greater than 90% of the supercars on the rally.
Oh, for sure.
And that first gen held up like nothing. Yeah, a huge testament to the first gen for anybody that kind of rips on single stage and all that stuff. Absolutely capable cars in the right hands.
I heard man when I chat and chit. I come through like what's good, these wigs getting split. Man better breeze than sprint, it's long if I choose to bite down on these pricks. X is a lyrical 4-4 and this, so make sure it's X that you wanna rally with. I'll make a big man turn to a kid. Shout out Scobin, I'll flat up with.